My name's Sean Valken-LeDuc. I'm a security analyst with OC Tanner. And today I want to talk to you guys about breaking into cybersecurity. I'm going to share a bit about my journey over the last 4 years transitioning into the field of cybersecurity from a non-technical background, some of the lessons I've learned along the way, and how you can do the same. But first, let me tell you a story. Story about a bright kid. Hardworking, motivated, perhaps a little misguided, maybe a little overconfident, but all in all, a good kid. See, this kid had an idea from an early age that in order to be successful in life, one needed to go to college and get a college degree. He also knew, coming from a lower income middle class family and a very loving but hardworking single mom, that he was going to be on his own when it came time to pay for school. So he figured he would do everything in his power to get scholarships, getting involved in extracurricular activities, getting straight A's, taking college level classes, getting and keeping a job. And ultimately it worked. When the day came for him to apply for schools, not only did he get accepted at every major school that he applied for, but he also got full ride scholarship offers. You see, he had concocted this grand plan in his head that he was going to blitz through an undergraduate degree, push through into an MBA degree, come out, become a business mogul, and be set for life. Unfortunately, life doesn't always pan out exactly how we would like it to. See, halfway through this young man's senior year, tragedy struck, and he lost both his mother and his brother within a couple of weeks. He was left on his own to try and figure out this crazy world that we live in, something that can be difficult enough for us as adults, let alone an 18-year-old kid. But he pushed through and he stuck to his plan. He went ahead and got an associate's degree before he was forced to take some time off of school to work and pay the bills. Eventually, he made his way back to school and he got a business degree, graduated summa cum laude, and he planned at this point that he would start to realize some of the financial and the professional success that he had hoped for. Unfortunately, this young man had to learn that a college degree doesn't always equate to success. He worked in various sales and marketing roles over the next decade or so and never really could get ahead in life. Ultimately, he realized that he was never going to reach the financial or the professional success that he had hoped for, continuing on the path that he was on. It was about the same time that the world saw something that it hadn't seen in nearly 100 years, global pandemic. Fortunately, at this time, my brother reached out to me and extended an invite for me to come and stay with him, figure out what was next. I don't know about for anybody else, but I remember at the beginning of COVID, things just seemed a little bit unclear. It didn't really seem clear what the future was going to look like. But again, one thing that COVID did for me was really allow for some introspection and some contemplation. And as I mentioned, I realized that I was never going to get to where I wanted to go or have the ability to provide for a family, continuing on the path that I was on. Something had to change, and something had to change drastically. Again, thankfully, my brother had invited me to come and stay with him for a bit. And I remember at the beginning, it just kind of felt like a big sleepover, right? Staying up late and playing video games, binge watching the news, of course, joking about the inevitable zombie apocalypse that was surely right around the corner. After a little while, my brother encouraged me and insisted that I could stay there. I didn't need to pay rent. He'd even take care of the groceries if needed. But I wasn't going to just sit around and play video games all day. He insisted that I do something productive with my time for 40 hours a week. Thankfully, it was around the same time that I was introduced to a new friend, family friend who I had actually not had the opportunity to meet prior to this. His name is Mike Wright. He's a security expert that's been in the field for 25 years at this point. Mike talked to me a little bit about the opportunity for a potential career in cybersecurity. He insisted and reassured me that he felt pretty confident that he could lead me to a six-figure salary in 5 years, give or take. I was intrigued, to say the least. Mike gave me a homework assignment. The first thing that he had me do was take a look at the field. He wanted me to take a look at things like job supply, the expected growth of the field over the coming decades, and of course, salaries. When I did this, there was really two things that caught my eye. The first was the sheer demand, the number of unfilled positions out there. Bear in mind, this is early COVID when most companies aren't actively hiring and some were even laying people off. And yet there was page after page of listings for security analysts and other security professional listings. The second was the median salaries. I started to see a path that could lead to the financial success that I was looking for and just simply the ability to provide for a family, which is what I was after all those years after all. So if I had to say that there was a step one in all this, it would be to find a mentor. You want to find someone who's traveled the path before you that can put up some signposts and kind of guide the way. I mean, after all, isn't any journey easier with the map or a guide of some kind? Now, I consider myself rather fortunate in that a mentor was just kind of handed to me, right? I can understand for somebody that's looking to transition into a brand new career that the prospect of going out and talking to people and finding the mentor can be a little bit daunting. But I've got a few suggestions and tips that I hope you'll find helpful for finding a mentor of your own. The first place that I would start is with family and friends. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, isn't it always easier talking to people that we know or that we've been introduced to? The other is, I think you'll find that they're generally a little bit more willing and available to help. Brainstorm. Think of your people in your immediate circle. Think if there's anybody working in tech already or in the cybersecurity domain and pick their brain. Ask them how they got started and how did they get to this point in their career? What are some of the skills and certifications and knowledge that they would suggest that you pick up? Next, if you're a student, talking to your professors can be a really good resource as well. Talk to them and get their input, get their advice, see what they would suggest. Next, security conferences just like this, SAINTCON, B-Sites, DEF CON, are not only a great place to network and meet other like-minded people in the field, but also potentially find a sponsor or a mentor. I can't tell you how many countless interactions I've had with people that just genuinely seem to want to help, more than willing to talk and answer questions and point you in the right direction. Finally, groups like 801 Labs, networking events, social forums, ethical hacking forums can be another great resource and a great way to meet people and potentially find a mentor of your own. So the second thing that Mike talked to me about was gaining some relevant certification skills and knowledge. The first thing that Mike had me do was get a membership to Pluralsight and study for and acquire my Security Plus certification. I was able to do this relatively quickly. It took me maybe a couple of months, but this gave me some solid fundamentals and basic concepts of IT in general and the security field. When I first started talking to Mike, he kind of pointed out that there's really three key domains that I was going to need to get acquainted with. The first, general cybersecurity practices and principles. Second was networking. And third was coding. Now, I had already previously taken a look at some coding languages, and it just seemed like a foreign language, just seemed to go right over my head. Networking, on the other hand, seemed to be a little bit more interesting to me, seemed to make a little bit more sense. So I moved on to studying for my CCNA exam, and thankfully, Mike is he's an instructor for large enterprise group led classes. And he had he had a garage full of just old routers and switches. I mean, these things probably came out of the 1990s, right? I think ultimately he really just wanted to get rid of them and get them into my hands. But he gave me a bunch of routers and switches, and I set about building my own home lab. I remember there were points where I wanted to pull my hair out and it just seemed overwhelming, but I stuck to it and I persisted, and eventually I was able to build a home lab. And I still remember the pride and the joy I felt when I got my first little bit of traffic routed through my own home network. One thing that I want to point out in terms of this is not just a one and done. This is going to be a lifelong effort. Just because you gain one certification, just because you learn one skill set, doesn't mean that you're done. We live in an ever-evolving landscape with consistently developing technology, consistently changing technology. And so this is going to be a lifelong effort. Since this time, I've been able to go on and get my CISA Plus, my AWS Foundational certification, and most recently, my Cisco CyberOps certification. The last thing I want to say in terms of certifications is, from my experience, there tends to be a pretty big disconnect between studying for and preparing to take a certification exam and passing that exam and the relevant on-the-job skills that you're going to use in day-to-day life. So just be aware of that and be prepared for that as you go along this journey. This brings me to step 3, get a job. Now, from my experience, especially for anybody that's transitioning from a non-technical background, this very well may be the hardest part of this entire process. And not even necessarily from a technical perspective as much as from a mindset perspective. The reason I say that is, especially if you don't have prior experience, you're probably going to get told no. Probably a lot. A couple of things that I want to point out. Just remember, first off, that no only means not right now. I certainly understand that it can be frustrating to send out application after application just to get told no or just to get no response at all. But be polite and be persistent. Don't take anything personally. While you're going through this process and submitting applications, I'd really encourage you to put some genuine effort into each one, right? Research the company, find out what makes them unique, find out why you're a good fit for that company, make a custom cover letter and try to distinguish yourself from the competition. Give them a reason that they should reach out to you. Finally, while you're going through this process and you're looking for your first full-time role, take advantage of any opportunity to gain any experience whatsoever. I remember as I was going through this process that I got a call from a temp agency for a potential contract assignment. There was actually a large healthcare provider that had experienced a massive ransomware attack, completely took their systems offline. As a result, they had a need to bring in a large number of external contractors. And just the simple fact that I had acquired my Security Plus was reason enough that they wanted to bring me on board. When I got this opportunity, I took full advantage of it. I stayed as late as they possibly would allow me to, jumped on any new aspects of the remediation efforts as possible, and it paid off. What was initially supposed to be a 2-week contract actually got extended out to 8 weeks, and they brought me on board to continue some of the continued recovery efforts and just bringing things back to normal operations. It wasn't too long after this. I started late. Okay. Apologize. Try and hurry and wrap this up for you guys. So it wasn't too long after that I got the next call that would change my life. Got a call from a company named OC Tanner, and they had reached out to me about a posting for the service desk that I had applied to. And I still remember to this day that the interview process itself was fairly non-technical. seemed to focus more around personality and whether I would be a good fit for the team or not. There's a few things that I want to kind of point out that will go a really long ways when you do finally get that first job as a service desk technician or maybe even as a junior analyst. For starters, I think that work ethic can really go a long ways in covering up for any technical skills or deficiencies that you may have at that point. Next, ask questions, but make sure that they're thoughtful ones. Don't be afraid to look silly. Don't be afraid to look stupid. I think most people are going to see that your inquisitive nature it shows a sincere desire and willingness to learn and grow and improve. Next, follow up, whether that's be on a ticket or with other team members and stakeholders. Next, be proactive. Look for additional opportunities to develop and learn new skills. And lastly, make good use of your free time. Step 5, rinse and repeat. After I'd been with the service desk team for about a year, knowing that we had a mentor program at OC Tanner, I reached out to the InfoSec manager and asked him if he would be willing to work with me on the side. Thankfully, he was more than happy to help, and we started meeting on a regular basis. Gave me some small, simple projects like setting up a wireless router and capturing the traffic and then cracking the password, getting set up with Tor and kind of browsing through the dark web. And I think these small projects really serve two purposes. One was to build some confidence in myself and gain additional skills. And two, for him, it allowed him to build trust in me that I could handle any challenges and tasks that he would set forth me in the future. Luck strikes again. A little while later, we suddenly had a couple of openings on our InfoSec team, and I immediately jumped at the opportunity to apply for the team. The interview process went well, and shortly after, I found myself joining the information security team. Finally, it felt like all the hard work that I had put in was really starting to pay off. Today, I continue to develop new skills and knowledge and gain additional exposure to new facets of the field. Today, I've been involved with our user awareness training or email security product or endpoint products, along with monitoring the day-to-day myriad of security notifications and alerts that we get. Another thing that I've been able to do throughout this entire process is build real and meaningful relationships. So ultimately, what have I gained from all this? A new level of self-confidence, a new career and a promising future, deep and meaningful relationships, and a sense of financial security that I've never known before, all while getting to do something that I've always enjoyed, which is helping other people. We're running short on time, so I just want to end with a few closing thoughts. It's really easy to get caught in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, but whether it's starting a new career or any other project, I'd really encourage you to take some time to stop and smell the roses along the way. Look for opportunities to do some introspection and reflection and look back at the progress that you've made year over year. SAINTCON, for me, serves a really special purpose and holds a really special place in my heart. It was 3 years ago that I came to my first SAINTCON, and I remember having this feeling of awe of like, I've finally arrived, right? With that, there was also some feelings of ineptitude and a little bit of imposter syndrome, and talking to so many incredibly talented and smart people, it was like, do I really belong here, right? Circle around to last year when I came to my second SAINTCON, and whether it was the fact that I was able to build my first badge successfully or understanding a bit more of the talks, I started to feel like it belonged a little bit more. Started to feel like maybe, just maybe, I had an opportunity to make it in this field after all. Circle around to this year, my third SAINTCON, and here I am sharing with you guys a little bit about my journey and hopefully providing some valuable insights to you. For anybody who may be in a career or thinking about transitioning into cybersecurity, I urge you to just do it. Please don't sue me, but just do it. We live in an ever-evolving threat landscape, and there's an ever-increasing demand for skilled and qualified security professionals. We need you. For anybody who may be a little bit more established in the field, I'd encourage you to take a look back and really think about what this field and what this career has done, not just for you, but for your families as well. Look for opportunities to help others and mentor others, whether that be someone with no experience whatsoever or simply a junior colleague. Or know the difference and the impact that you can have in somebody's life. Finally, still to this day, I get the opportunity to meet and talk to my mentor on a weekly basis. I make a point of consistently letting him know how much I appreciate his guidance and his assistance on this journey. And his response is always the same, that he himself has gained so much from us working together, and the level of pride that he takes in seeing that I've been willing to put in the hard work to establish myself in this field, and the rewards that he gets from seeing the way in which I've changed and shaped my future. I want to thank you guys for your time. My name is Sean Valken-LeDuc. I'm a security analyst with OC Tanner. Here's my LinkedIn profile. If you want to take a look, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to connect. Lastly, I want to give a quick shout out and a thank you to all those who have helped me along the way. Thank you to everyone at OC Tanner. First, for giving me a shot at the service desk, and second, for giving me a shot with the InfoSec team. Lastly, thank you to Mike Wright, who's mentored me along this journey. As I mentioned, Mike does small business consulting, and he also does enterprise level instructor-led group classes. If you have any business needs for either of those things, go ahead and check out his website, excellenttraining.com. But again, thank you for your time, and I'll go ahead and open it up for questions.